Hello, Capstone English learners. Welcome back to another installment of Van's Journal. In this episode of Van's Journal, we are prompted to consider the heart of intellectual growth. That is, the ability to revise one's own operating system when faced with new evidence. For someone like Van, changing a long held opinion isn't an emotional shift, it's a structural one. Here's what she writes. The shift from pure logic to informed intuition. For a significant portion of my early career, I was a staunch proponent of cold, hard empiricism. I operated under the belief that every strategic decision should be rooted in a quantifiable data point. In my view, intuition was merely a fringe and unreliable byproduct of human bias, something to be suppressed in favor of rigorous, logical analysis. I considered any reliance on gut feeling to be a sign of intellectual laziness. However, a pivotal merger negotiation several years ago forced a radical reevaluation of my process. On paper, the synergy between the two firms was flawless. The data predicted a seamless integration. Yet, during the meetings, I felt an intangible discord, a subtle friction in how the leadership teams communicated that no spreadsheet could capture. I ignored it, favoring the objective evidence. The subsequent collapse of that merger due to cultural incompatibility was a harsh lesson. I realized that my refusal to acknowledge non-quantifiable data was actually a form of intellectual myopia. I have since changed my opinion on the utility of intuition. I no longer see it as mysticism. Rather, I see it as the brain's ability to synthesize massive amounts of pattern recognition and past experience into an immediate insight. Logic provides the map, but intuition often senses the terrain. Now, when I am advising senior executives or architecting a new educational framework, I intentionally cultivate a secondary layer of perception. I no longer ask my clients to look solely at what the KPIs indicate. I ask them to consider what the prevailing silence in the boardroom suggests about the team's actual alignment. It is no longer sufficient to merely possess a robust and verified dataset. One must also maintain the internal stillness required to hear what the data is deliberately omitting. This evolution in my methodology is not a retreat from my scientific roots, but rather an expansion of them. A quiet acknowledgement that the most sophisticated analytical engine at our disposal is the human subconscious, refined by millennia of progressive pattern recognition and capable of detecting systemic risk that have yet to be codified into a formal report. This fundamental reorientation of my worldview has taught me that true intellectual maturity lies in the capacity to hold two seemingly contradictory modalities in tandem. I remain a rigorous critic of baseless claims and a defender of objective truth. Yet, I have learned to respect the undeniable weight of an intuition that refuses to be ignored. By integrating this visceral feedback into my broader analytical framework, my strategies have become significantly more resilient and my leadership more perceptively humane. The journey from a rigid, one-dimensional logician to a holistic strategist was never about losing my analytical edge. It was about sharpening that edge against the messy, nonlinear reality of the human experience. If you need to, feel free to have another listen. Otherwise, let's take time to review some of the vocabulary words featured in this episode. Staunch, firm and steadfast. For example, She remained a staunch defender of free speech even under political pressure. Empiricism, reliance on observation and experiment. For example, modern medicine is rooted in empiricism, requiring trials for every new drug. Fringe, not part of the mainstream, unconventional. For example, what was once considered a fringe theory is now widely accepted in physics. Pivotal, of crucial importance in relation to the success of something else. For example, the discovery of the vaccine was a pivotal moment in the fight against the virus. Intangible, difficult to define or measure, non-physical. For example, a positive company culture is an intangible but vital asset. Subsequent, coming after something in time, following. For example, the first storm was mild, but the subsequent flooding caused major damage. Myopia, lack of discernment or long-range perspective. For example, the board's myopia regarding digital trends led to the company's downfall. Synthesize, to combine various components into a whole. For example, the researcher had to synthesize data from 10 studies to reach a conclusion. Now that you have the vocabulary down pat, it's time for a drill. Take a look at this excerpt from Van's journal and put yourself in her shoes. Then use the guides shown here to create a statement that applies to you. Try speaking out loud. I'll give you some time. Time's up. Here's what I came up with. I'd love to see your response, so go ahead and write it down in the comments. That's it for our lesson. Thanks for staying till the end. If it was helpful, like and subscribe so I know you want more content like this. See you next time.